Hello people of the world, my name is Missam and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. Today I'm going to talk about Avatar, the Last Airbender. Needless to say, I absolutely love this show. It is the best show. And if you haven't watched it, watch it because this video is going to have all kinds of spoilers. Even though I think that I'm probably gonna do like a book by book or season by season breakdown of the show later on at some point, I just wanna discuss the show. I just need somebody to hype the show up with me because it's on Netflix now and you guys need to watch it. Full disclosure, full spoilers ahead. Okay, so Avatar: The Last Airbender is about this world where there are different kinds of benders. So you have waterbender, earthbender, firebenders, and waterbender, earthbender, firebender, airbender. And all these four nations, they live in harmony and peace is maintained by this person called the Avatar who can control all four of the elements. However, one day the Avatar disappears and then soon after that the Fire Nation attacks and they try to rule the whole world, and that is where our story begins. Fast forward to almost 100 years later after the war has begun. We are following two of our main characters, Katara and Sokka. Katara and Sokka are brother and sisters from the water tribe, and Katara is a waterbender, Sokka is not. They find a guy trapped, like a small boy trapped in the ice. Turns out that glowing son of a bitch is the Avatar. Aang is an amazing character. He is so adorable. The show is the perfect balance of mature content mixed with like childlike humor. Let's talk about characters because the story, in my opinion, is only as good as its characters. You can have a lot of good plot points, but if you don't care about the characters, you're definitely not gonna care about the story. Starting with Aang, I think I've made myself pretty clear that I really liked the guy. He has a lot of heart, he has a lot of compassion, and that shows. Even when he has to kill Ozai and he doesn't want to kill Ozai, I felt for him and I was so happy that he made all the right decisions by taking away Ozai's bending, which was a plot point that came out of nowhere, but we'll get to that later. Number 2, Katara. I know that a lot of people do not like Katara, but I love Katara, and I know that if I were like a kid, I would have really looked up to her. She would definitely be one of my role models to look up to, right alongside Annabeth and Hermione growing up. In the bloodbending episode, that episode went so dark and it made me feel so many things for Katara. She is a wonderfully written character. I know that she can be annoying at times. She follows a very Hermione-like template if you actually think about it. She cares a lot for people. She is incredibly smart and she's incredibly talented and she's very motherly, which are all very Hermione-esque qualities to have. I don't want to compare the two because both of them are their very own people, but just a random thought that I just thought of. Sokka. Sokka has one of the most apparent character arcs in Avatar: The Last Airbender, apart from a certain someone who I'm soon gonna come to. Sokka starts off as a bit of an idiot. I did not care so much for his character, but the best part about this show is how much it makes you want to care. It makes you love the characters. I started to love Sokka. In the first few episodes, he was just the comedic relief, and he is a comedic relief, but he is so much more than just that. Every single character in the show has so many layers, and you really have to dig deep, and once you do, you will realize how wonderful they are as characters. Sokka's character arc is from an overconfident, egoistic, bit of an idiot guy, but with a good heart, to a good leader, a great leader. I loved how he learned his lessons in humility, and he took those lessons in his stride, which just shows that he, despite his ego, despite his flaws, he has a good heart, and he is always shown as this guy who is willing to learn. So it starts with the Kyoshi warriors. I think that's how it starts. It's been a while since I watched it, but I really liked his character arc in the Kyoshi warriors episode, where he thinks, oh, they're girls, they can't fight, and then the girls end up handing his ass to him, and then he he shuts up and he wants to learn from them. And then in the third book, I think, he has to go learn from the swords master, and the sword master asks him, so why do you want to learn? What makes you? He asks something along the, why should I teach you? And Sokka's like, I'm nothing special. There's nothing special about me. I just really want to learn. And that shows his growth from season 1 to season 3, and I think that is amazing. I know he tries to act all like Toph and but he's just adorable. He's cute. Toph. Toph is probably my favorite character after Zuko. Every trope is subverted in the Blind Bandit episode, and I loved it. I remember being at the edge of my seat in that episode because the way Toph fought, it blew me away. She felt vibrations in the earth, and that is how Aang defeats Ozai, and that just ties this into that, and oh my god, I love this show so much. Toph is bratty. Toph is a bit of a wild spirit. She does not like following rules. She does not like having anybody trying to control her, which is why she did not get along with her parents much. And Katara is the motherly figure. She's a bit more like stagnant, and then Toph is like the free spirit, so they are constantly butting heads. They have this friction between them, which later gets solved, and it is so cathartic. When Toph was first introduced, I was really surprised because, you know, usually these shows or these kind of stories, they follow the template of 3. So you usually have a trio, and then they go on all sorts of adventures. So when Toph joined, I was pretty surprised. I had no idea how it would go, and I had no idea it would go so well. They broke that cliche of 3s, and they really did a great job with that. I'm not saying that the trio is a bad cliche, but I'm just saying that it was refreshing to step out of that template. And now we have the one, the only, Zuko. I am sorry, I just really like Zuko. There's just so much to say about that kid. He is so amazing. He is so brilliant. I love Zuko. I loved him from his first frame. I know that he was supposed to be an antagonist, but I never bought it for 1 second. I had no idea about his redemption arc, by the way. But I knew that he was a good guy because of Uncle Iroh. I'm gonna get to Uncle Iroh. Every hint, every little like building block they've like laid down in order to reach his final character switch, which is not a switch, it's not a sudden switch, but it's a gradual, something that you know is coming, but the way it came was so perfect. In the first season, I know that he is supposed to be the antagonist, but you can see the difference between him and the other Fire Lords. He has some level of humanity in him, and you know it's there. You believe him. You have faith in Zuko. I have faith in Zuko. I always had faith in Zuko. He stood up for people. He stood up for people's lives, and that is why he got the scar, which is so sad. An abusive environment that Zuko and Azula have lived in, the dysfunctional family, and you just feel so much because I watched this as an adult, and I just kept thinking that these are kids. They are kids. Zuko is a kid, and he's had to go through so much pain. And even Azula has had to go through so much pain. Zuko never feels like, his character is never cheapened. He has so much rage inside of him, and that rage is never cheapened. Okay, the second book is probably my favorite book. I know that the third book has most of the stuff going on for it, but there's something about the second book that I really like, especially the climax of the second book. I was really hoping that Zuko changes side in the second season itself, because you know, the way things were happening, I knew that Zuko is gonna be Aang's Fire Master. And therefore, I was really expecting Zuko to change his ways by the climax. The way things were going, I really thought that he would. And then he didn't. And I was broken, but I was happy because they made the correct decision by doing that. We were so disappointed in Zuko. We know he's gonna be okay, but we were still disappointed in the choice he made. But it was still fine from a writing perspective. It was a good choice. They subverted our expectations, And in that moment, we were all Uncle Iroh. We were all disappointed with Zuko. And we all knew that he's capable of so much, and yet we were so disappointed that he didn't choose the right path. And then of course Zuko does change for the better, and when it happens, it is so cathartic. In fact, I would argue that Zuko might as well be the protagonist of the show. I think both Aang and Zuko were the protagonists of the show. Yes, the show is based on Aang's adventures, and Aang does bring a lot of humanity and he brings a lot of compassion. Zuko, he brings flaws, he brings humanity, he brings this raw, unadulterated, something so innately human about him, and I loved it. I argue that Zuko is the actual hidden protagonist of the show. He's been given enough weight in the show for that to be true, and I like Zuko a bit more than Aang. I love Aang as a person, but Zuko is my favorite character. He's the most well-written character out of the lot. Uncle Iroh. Uncle Iroh is everything. He's not just Zuko's mentor, he ends up being everybody's mentor at some point, and he is just so kind and so compassionate, and he brings out the best in people. He doesn't have an arc, but he doesn't need one. He is perfect as he is. Everything about Uncle Iroh, from the fact that he did not kill the last dragon, to his reaction to his son's death, to the way he cared so much for Zuko, everything was so beautiful. Azula. Azula is probably one of the best written villains I have come across, because in a lot of episodes she doesn't even feel like a villain. In some episodes, like in third season, they're attending parties and they're at this bonfire camp kind of thing. She doesn't feel like a villain in those episodes. She just feels like a girl, a heavily flawed girl with a sad backstory, and you understand why she is the way she is, which makes her such a wonderful villain. And when she finally starts to break down, you feel it. You understand why she's doing it. She is going crazy. She has everything that she ever wanted, but she is never satisfied, because somewhere that little girl, she hasn't received the help or the love that she needs, and that breaks her. Side characters such as May and Ty Lee, they're all so much fun to have around. Again, neither of them are inherently good or inherently bad, but that is the best part about them. Not everybody is inherently good or inherently bad, right? Some people are just there. Some people are there because their loved ones are in battle, but they personally don't care about it. And Ty Lee and May, they are the characters which fit into this description. Appa. I'm not gonna not talk about Appa, because in the second book, Appa gets a whole character arc of his own. He doesn't even talk. I remember crying in that episode, because this just shows that this show cares about all of their characters, even the animals. I loved the connection Aang and Appa shared. It was wonderfully done, and I had to mention him. And finally, the cabbage seller. This guy deserves a shout out. Nobody talks about him, but the cabbage seller is probably the most important character in the show. I don't know why he is, but he is, and he deserves a shout out. He deserves to be acknowledged. The real hero of Avatar: The Last Airbender. The poor guy just wanted to sell cabbages. And honestly, I was so happy when he contributed to the play, the recap play, because I was like, yes, this guy deserves good things happening to him. Thank you. I'm going to talk about the themes in this show, because I think there's this one, there are lots of themes in the show, but there's one particular theme that I think was a running theme throughout the show, which was finding your best self and staying true to it. Let's start with Aang. Aang stayed true to himself till the end. Everybody told him to kill Ozai. He did not do it because he knew that this was not what he was meant to do. He was a monk and he could not bring himself to do that. And he stayed true to that despite everybody telling him to not do that. Katara too finds her best self. She unleashes the inner waterbender in her and she refuses to budge from doing what is right. She is, in the first season, she motivates the prisoners. She is always standing up for people. She is always compassionate towards them. And when she was forced to bloodbend, she refused to do it. And when she actually had to break, and when she actually had to embrace the darkness within her in order to stop Hama, it just hit so hard, but she was still always true to her character and true to herself and her best self. Same with Sokka. He finds his best self and he stays true to it despite whatever challenges comes his way. And of course Zuko and even Toph. Iroh's philosophy, his central philosophy, also revolves around this, which is why he wants Zuko to be better, because he knows Zuko is, all he needs to do is find himself and stick to that. Interestingly, this is exactly what goes wrong with Azula. She has nobody to guide her. She's nobody to help her unlock her true potential, which does not lie in her firebending skills, but actually emotion. She hasn't found her best self, and that breaks her because she did not get that emotional support. She finally lost it and she finally spiraled, and that was chilling to watch. So that's all I have for you today. If you liked it, consider giving this a like and hitting subscribe and following me on Twitter. I am also on Instagram. If you want more content like this, come back. I will be posting videos at some point. Also, if you like Avatar: The Last Airbender, comment down below. Let me know what you thought about the video. Let me know what you liked about Avatar: The Last Airbender or what you disliked. So yeah, goodbye.